Picture this. 300 guests. A cathedral filled with white roses. Camera flashes lighting up a couple who'd spent 2 years planning this exact moment. The officiant smiles, opens his mouth to say those words everyone's been waiting for. "You may now kiss the bride." But before he can finish that sentence, the groom steps back. Not a small step. A deliberate step backward. His hand drops from hers. The bride's face, radiant just seconds ago, freezes. Confusion spreads across her features like water soaking through fabric. The guests lean forward in their seats. Someone coughs. A phone buzzes. Nobody moves to silence it. The groom looks at his bride, then at the 300 people watching them, and says 4 words that will shatter everything. "I can't do this." The cathedral goes silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence. The kind that makes your chest tight. The kind where you can hear your own heartbeat in your ears. What happened next would expose secrets that had been hidden for months, destroy families, and leave an entire wedding party questioning everything they thought they knew about love and loyalty. This is the story of Ryan Mitchell and Jennifer Crawford. At least, that's what we'll call them. 2 people who, by every measure, seemed destined to spend their lives together. Successful careers. Shared values. Families who adored each other. Friends who called them relationship goals. On paper, they were perfect. And yet, on what should have been the happiest day of their lives, everything fell apart. Not gradually. Not privately. In front of 300 witnesses. The question everyone's been asking since that day is simple. What could possibly make a groom refuse to kiss his bride at the altar? Was it cold feet? A sudden realization? Or was it something far worse? Something calculated? To understand what happened in that cathedral, we need to go back. Back to where it all started. Back to the moment when 2 people fell in love, completely unaware of the storm that was coming. Because this isn't just a story about a wedding that didn't happen. It's a story about trust, about betrayal, and about the moment when everything you believe in comes crashing down. Before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Ryan Mitchell was the kind of man people described as solid. 32 years old. Corporate attorney at one of Denver's most respected firms. The type who showed up early, stayed late, and never complained. His colleagues respected him. His clients trusted him. But beneath that professional exterior was someone who'd been hurt before. His previous relationship had ended badly. She'd cheated. He'd found out from a friend. The whole thing had left scars that hadn't quite healed. So when he met Jennifer Crawford at a mutual friend's barbecue in the summer of 2022, he was cautious. Jennifer was 29. Marketing director at a tech startup. Bright smile. Quick wit. The kind of energy that lit up a room. She talked about her work with passion, her family with warmth, her dreams with clarity. Ryan found himself drawn to her in a way he hadn't expected. They talked for hours that night. About everything and nothing. Their childhoods. Their careers. Their favorite terrible movies. When the party ended, Ryan asked for her number. She said yes without hesitation. Their first official date was at a small Italian restaurant in downtown Denver. Nothing fancy. Red checkered tablecloths. Candles in wine bottles. But the conversation flowed like they'd known each other for years. Jennifer told Ryan about growing up in Boulder with two older brothers who'd taught her to be tough. Ryan shared stories about his single mother who'd worked 3 jobs to put him through law school. They discovered they both loved hiking. Both hated reality TV. Both wanted kids someday but weren't in a rush. By the end of the night, Ryan knew this was different. Over the next 6 months, they fell into a comfortable rhythm. Weekend hikes in Rocky Mountain National Park. Sunday brunches at their favorite cafe. Quiet evenings cooking dinner together in Ryan's apartment. Jennifer met Ryan's mother and immediately charmed her with stories about her own mom. Ryan met Jennifer's family and spent a Sunday afternoon playing football with her brothers in their backyard. Everything felt easy. Natural. Right. When Ryan's best friend, Marcus Thompson, flew in from California for a visit, Jennifer insisted on planning a welcome dinner. She spent hours making Marcus's favorite meal, even calling his mother for the recipe. Marcus and Ryan had been friends since college. They'd pledged the same fraternity. Graduated together. Marcus had been there through Ryan's worst breakup, showing up at his apartment with pizza and beer when Ryan couldn't get off the couch. They were brothers in every way except blood. When Marcus met Jennifer, he seemed genuinely happy for his friend. The 3 of them spent the weekend exploring Denver, sharing old college stories, making new memories. Jennifer fit right in. She laughed at their inside jokes, contributed her own stories, never made Marcus feel like a third wheel. When Marcus flew back to California, he texted Ryan one simple message. "Don't mess this up. She's the one." Ryan knew Marcus was right. By their 1-year anniversary, Ryan was certain. He started saving for a ring. Not just any ring. He wanted something meaningful. Something that reflected who Jennifer was. He spent months working with a jeweler, designing a custom piece. White gold band. Vintage cut diamond. Small emeralds on the sides because green was her favorite color. The proposal happened on a hiking trail they'd climbed on their first date. Nothing elaborate. Just the 2 of them, the mountains, and the setting sun. When Ryan got down on one knee, Jennifer's eyes filled with tears before he even opened the box. The engagement period was everything people said it would be. Stressful. Exciting. Overwhelming. Jennifer threw herself into planning. She created spreadsheets for everything. Guest lists. Seating charts. Vendor schedules. Timeline breakdowns. Sometimes Ryan would find her at 2 a.m, hunched over her laptop, comparing flower arrangements. He'd wrap a blanket around her shoulders and remind her to sleep. She'd promise to come to bed soon, then stay up another hour. Ryan's mother worried Jennifer was working too hard. Ryan's co-workers joked that he looked tired all the time. But Jennifer insisted everything had to be perfect. This was their day. The day they'd been working toward. The day that would start the rest of their lives. Nothing could go wrong. Ryan supported her vision even when he didn't understand it. When she spent 3 hours debating napkin colors, he sat next to her and pretended to care about the difference between ivory and cream. When she cried because the first venue fell through, he held her and helped her call other options. When she stressed about whether her dress looked right, he told her she'd be beautiful in anything. But there were moments. Small moments. Moments Ryan would look back on later and wonder how he'd missed the signs. Jennifer started spending more time on her phone. Always texting. always smiling at her screen. When Ryan asked who she was talking to, she'd say work. Or the wedding planner. Or her maid of honor. Perfectly reasonable explanations. She started going out more often. Girls' nights. Work events. Wedding planning meetings. Sometimes she'd come home late, smelling like wine and perfume, her makeup slightly smudged. When Ryan mentioned it, she'd laugh and say her friends had kept her out longer than planned. Again, perfectly reasonable. Marcus called less frequently. When Ryan reached out, Marcus always seemed busy. Work was crazy, he'd say. He'd call back soon. But the calls became texts. The texts became shorter. The friendship that had survived years and distance seemed to be fading. Ryan told himself it was normal. People got busy. Life happened. And besides, he had wedding planning to focus on. Cake tastings. Venue walkthroughs. Guest list revisions. The wedding was only 3 months away. If you're still watching at this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who's truly following this shocking story. It was a Wednesday. Ryan remembers because Jennifer always had late meetings on Wednesdays. He'd come home early, planning to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place. But the apartment was empty. Her car was in the parking lot, though. Strange. He set the food on the counter and called her phone. It rang. From the bedroom. She'd left it. Jennifer never left her phone. Ryan picked it up, intending to call her work cell, when a text notification popped up. From Marcus. The preview showed just enough. "Can't wait to see you tonight. That hotel room." Ryan's stomach dropped. His hands started shaking. He knew he shouldn't. Knew it was wrong. But he opened the messages anyway. What he found made him physically ill. Months of messages. Hundreds of them. Some sweet. Some explicit. Photos he never should have seen. Plans they'd made. Lies they'd told. The messages went back almost to the start of his engagement. While he was designing Jennifer's ring, she was sending Marcus photos of lingerie. While he was tasting wedding cakes, she was making plans to meet Marcus at hotels whenever he flew into town. Ryan sat on their bed, Jennifer's phone in his shaking hands, and tried to process what he was reading. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was deliberate. Calculated. Ongoing. His best friend. The man he'd trusted with everything. The man who was supposed to be his best man at the wedding. And Jennifer. The woman he'd planned to spend his life with. The woman he'd shared his fears with. The woman who knew about his previous betrayal and promised she'd never hurt him that way. How long had he been the fool? How many times had they laughed about fooling him? The messages showed Marcus had visited Denver 6 times in the past 8 months. 6 times. Ryan had known about 2 of those visits. The other 4, Marcus had stayed in hotels. With Jennifer. While Ryan was at work. While Ryan was planning their wedding. While Ryan was excitedly telling coworkers about his upcoming marriage to the love of his life. His vision blurred. Whether from tears or rage, he couldn't tell. Both, probably. He wanted to smash the phone. Wanted to call Jennifer. Wanted to call Marcus. Wanted to scream until his throat was raw. But instead, Ryan did something unexpected. He took screenshots. Every message. Every photo. Every lie. He uploaded them to a cloud drive. Then he carefully placed Jennifer's phone back where he'd found it. He couldn't eat the Thai food. The smell made him nauseous. He threw it away and sat in the dark living room, waiting. Jennifer came home around 9. She was humming. Actually humming. She kissed Ryan on the cheek, asked about his day, mentioned she'd had drinks with her maid of honor to finalize bridesmaid dress details. Ryan smiled. Said his day was fine. Asked about her meeting. She answered easily, weaving details into her lie with practiced precision. He wondered how many times she'd done this. How many times she'd looked him in the eye and lied so smoothly. That night, Ryan lay awake while Jennifer slept peacefully beside him. He stared at the ceiling and tried to decide what to do. He could confront them now. End it. Call off the wedding. But they'd already paid for most of it. Deposits were non-refundable. And honestly, a part of him wanted to know if they'd really go through with it. Would Jennifer really marry him while sleeping with his best friend? Would Marcus really stand beside him at the altar, knowing what he'd done? Ryan made a decision. He'd wait. He'd gather evidence. He'd make sure everyone knew exactly why this wedding was ending. Because if he'd learned anything from his previous relationship, it was this. When you catch someone betraying you, make sure there's no way for them to twist the story. Make sure everyone knows the truth. Over the next 3 months, Ryan became someone he didn't recognize. He smiled at wedding planning meetings. Laughed at Jennifer's jokes. Acted excited about honeymoon plans. All while monitoring her phone when she showered. All while documenting every lie. Every secret meeting. Every betrayal. Marcus called once. Asked if Ryan wanted to grab drinks when he was in town. Ryan's hand tightened around the phone. He wanted to explode. Instead, he said sure, that sounded great. Jennifer planned a spa weekend for her bachelorette party. Ryan encouraged her to go. Have fun. She deserved it. What she didn't know was that Ryan had hired a private investigator. The investigator followed Jennifer to the spa. And then to the hotel where Marcus was staying. The photos were damning. Clear. Undeniable. Ryan added them to his evidence file. He also made another decision. A big one. He went to a print shop. Ordered 300 8x10 photographs. The best evidence he had. Photos the investigator had taken. Jennifer and Marcus. Kissing. More than kissing. Clear. Unmistakable. Undeniable. The woman at the print shop asked if these were for a wedding. Ryan almost laughed. In a way, he said. In a way. He had each photo placed in a manila envelope. Then he bought 300 small pieces of tape. Strong tape. The kind that would hold but wouldn't damage surfaces. 3 days before the wedding, while Jennifer was at a final dress fitting, Ryan went to the cathedral. The coordinator was confused when Ryan asked to spend some time alone in the venue. For meditation, he explained. To prepare spiritually. She smiled and left him alone. Ryan spent 2 hours taping an envelope to the bottom of each chair. Row by row. Seat by seat. 300 envelopes. 300 pieces of evidence. 300 revelations waiting to be discovered. If this hooked you already, Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment because what happens next will absolutely shatter your expectations. The morning of the wedding, Ryan woke up calm. Eerily calm. Like he'd stepped outside his own body and was watching someone else go through the motions. He showered. Shaved. Put on his tuxedo. His mother knocked on his door, asked if he was nervous. He smiled and said no. He'd never been more sure of anything. She beamed. Said she was proud of him. Said Jennifer was lucky to have him. Ryan's jaw tightened, but he kept smiling. At the cathedral, guests were arriving. Friends from college. Co-workers. Family members who'd traveled across the country. Everyone dressed in their finest. Everyone excited to witness a love story. Ryan stood in the groom's suite, adjusting his tie, when Marcus walked in. Marcus was wearing his tuxedo too. As the best man, he looked the part. Clean cut. Handsome. Trustworthy. Everything a best friend should be. He clapped Ryan on the shoulder and said the classic line. Last chance to back out, buddy. Ryan looked at Marcus. Really looked at him. This man he'd known for over a decade. This man he'd trusted with his life. This man who'd betrayed him in the worst possible way. And Ryan smiled. Said he'd never been more ready. Meant every word. The ceremony started exactly on time. Guests found their seats. The string quartet began playing. Bridesmaids walked down the aisle in their pale blue dresses. Ryan watched from his position at the altar. Everything was perfect. Picture perfect. Exactly as Jennifer had planned. Then the music changed. Everyone stood. And Jennifer appeared at the back of the cathedral. She looked stunning. Her dress was custom designed. Fitted bodice. Flowing skirt. Delicate lace. Her veil was cathedral length, trailing behind her like a whisper. Her father walked beside her, tears already streaming down his face. Ryan watched Jennifer float toward him and felt absolutely nothing. No love. No anger. Just cold, calculated certainty about what he was about to do. Jennifer reached the altar. Her father kissed her cheek and placed her hand in Ryan's. Her hands were shaking. From excitement, Ryan assumed. She smiled at him. A bright, genuine smile. Like this was the happiest moment of her life. Ryan smiled back. The officiant began speaking. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. The usual words. Words Ryan had heard at dozens of weddings. Words that usually felt meaningful. Today they felt hollow. Empty sounds in a pretty room. The officiant talked about love. About commitment. About the sacred bond of marriage. About two people choosing each other every day. About trust being the foundation of any lasting relationship. Ryan almost laughed. Jennifer squeezed his hand, misinterpreting his expression as emotion. The officiant asked if anyone objected to the union. The traditional pause. Nobody ever actually objects at weddings. It's just ceremony. Theater. But Ryan felt 300 people holding their breath anyway. Waiting for something. Anything. The moment passed. No objections. The officiant smiled. Prepared to continue. To move forward to the vows. To the rings. To the kiss that would seal their fate. But Ryan had other plans. Before the officiant could speak again, Ryan gently released Jennifer's hands. Stepped back. The small movement created a ripple through the crowd. People shifted in their seats. Jennifer's smile faltered. Her eyebrows drew together in confusion. "Ryan?" she whispered. The officiant paused. Looked between them uncertainly. Ryan turned to face the congregation. All 300 guests. Watching. Waiting. Wondering what was happening. "My mom said I can't hit 1,000 subscribers before today ends. Subscribe and let's prove her wrong." Ryan cleared his throat. His voice was steady. Calm. Almost unnaturally so. "First," he said, "I want to thank everyone for being here. For traveling. For taking time out of your lives to support what you thought was a celebration of love. I know many of you flew across the country. Booked hotels. Bought gifts. Adjusted your schedules. And I appreciate that more than you know." Behind him, Jennifer made a small sound. Confusion morphing into concern. "Ryan. What are you doing?" Her voice was quiet but urgent. Ryan didn't turn around. "I also want to thank everyone for the gifts you brought. The toasters. The picture frames. The gift cards. Very thoughtful. But I have a gift for all of you too. Something I think you'll find even more interesting than a KitchenAid mixer." The guests exchanged confused glances. This wasn't part of the ceremony. This wasn't normal. Ryan's mother stood up halfway. Sat back down. Jennifer's father gripped the arm of his chair. Marcus, standing to Ryan's left as best man, had gone pale. "Under each of your chairs," Ryan continued, "you'll find an envelope. Taped there. Don't worry about the tape. It'll come off easily. I made sure of that. I'd like you all to open those envelopes now. Please. Take a moment." The cathedral erupted in confused murmuring. People looked at each other. Looked at Ryan. Looked at Jennifer, who was now visibly panicking. "Ryan, stop," she hissed. "Please. This isn't funny." Ryan finally turned to face her. His expression was completely neutral. Neither angry nor sad. Just blank. "I agree," he said. "It's not funny at all." The sound of 300 people reaching under their chairs filled the space. Rustling. Ripping. Gasps. "Oh my God. No way. Is this real? What the hell?" The reaction spread through the crowd like wildfire. Guests pulled photos from envelopes. Stared. Looked at Jennifer. Looked at Marcus. Looked at Ryan. Jennifer grabbed Ryan's arm. Her face had gone from confused to horrified. "What did you do? What did you do?" Ryan gently removed her hand. "I showed them the truth," he said quietly. "About you. About Marcus. About every lie you've told for the past 8 months." Jennifer's legs seemed to give out. She grabbed the altar to steady herself. Her veil slipped. Her perfect hair came loose. Marcus had frozen completely. Photo evidence in 300 hands. Clear. Undeniable. Him and Jennifer. Together. Intimate. Unmistakable. Jennifer's father stood up. His face was red. Veins visible in his neck. "What is this?" he demanded. "Ryan, what the hell is this?" Ryan addressed the crowd again. "For those of you who might not recognize the gentleman in the photos with my fiancée, that's Marcus Thompson. My best man. My best friend since college. The man I asked to stand beside me today because I trusted him more than anyone in the world." Jennifer was crying now. Not delicate tears. Ugly, desperate sobs. "Ryan, please. We can talk about this. We can fix this." Ryan laughed. Actually laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. "Fix this? Jennifer, you've been sleeping with my best friend for 8 months. 8 months. While we planned this wedding. While I designed your ring. While I told everyone how lucky I was to have found you." Marcus finally moved. Stepped forward. "Ryan, man, Ryan held up his hand. "Don't. Just don't. Save whatever lie you were about to tell. Everyone here can see exactly what you two have been doing." The guests were in complete chaos now. Some were crying. Some were shouting. Some were taking photos of the photos. Jennifer's mother had fainted. Her brothers were arguing with groomsmen about whether to throw Marcus out physically. Ryan's mother pushed through the crowd. Reached her son. Put her hand on his shoulder. She didn't say anything. Just stood there. Solid. Present. Supporting him the way she always had. Jennifer fell to her knees. Her dress pooled around her. Her veil dragged on the floor. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." Ryan crouched down to her level. Looked her directly in the eyes. "A mistake is forgetting to buy milk," he said softly. "A mistake is being late to dinner. What you did was a choice. 8 months of choices. Every time you lied. Every time you texted him. Every time you met him at a hotel and then came home and kissed me goodnight. Those were all choices. And here's my choice." Ryan stood. Addressed the crowd one final time. "The reception is already paid for. The food. The drinks. The band. Please. Stay. Enjoy yourselves. Consider it my thank you for being willing to celebrate what turned out to be a complete lie." Then Ryan turned to Marcus. "You can stay if you want. Though I wouldn't recommend it." Her brothers look pretty angry. Marcus didn't need to be told twice. He fled. Literally ran down the aisle and out of the cathedral. Some guests booed. Others threw programs at him. Ryan removed his boutonniere. Set it on the altar. Looked at Jennifer one last time. "I hope it was worth it," he said. Then he walked down the aisle. His mother followed. Some guests stood and clapped. Others sat in stunned silence. But Ryan didn't look back. Outside the cathedral, Ryan loosened his tie. Took a deep breath. The sky was impossibly blue. Birds were singing. Cars drove past, completely unaware that a wedding had just imploded. Ryan's mother stood beside him. She didn't ask if he was okay. She knew he wasn't. Instead, she said something unexpected. "I'm proud of you." Ryan looked at her. For what? For falling for a cheater. For being stupid enough to trust my best friend. His mother shook her head. For knowing your worth. For refusing to settle for someone who didn't value you. For having the courage to walk away even when it was hard. Even when everyone was watching. That takes strength, sweetheart. Real strength. They stood there for a long moment. Mother and son. Then Ryan laughed. Actually laughed. You know what? He said. I'm hungry. Didn't eat breakfast. Too nervous. His mother linked her arm through his. Let's get you fed. They walked to Ryan's car and drove to a diner. The same diner where Ryan and Jennifer had gone on their first date. But today, it was just Ryan and his mom. And somehow, that felt right. If you're still here, subscribe, because stories like this only work when people stay. The fallout was immediate and brutal. By the time Ryan and his mother finished their lunch, the photos were everywhere. Social media. Group chats. Email chains. Someone had recorded video of the moment Ryan made his announcement. It went viral within hours. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. News outlets picked up the story. Local at first, then national. Groom exposes cheating bride at altar. Best man betrayal caught on camera. Wedding becomes revenge plot. Ryan's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls from reporters. Messages from friends. Emails from strangers offering support. He turned it off. Needed silence. Space to process what he'd just done. Jennifer tried calling. When Ryan blocked her, she showed up at his apartment. Pounded on the door. Screamed that they needed to talk. That he'd humiliated her. That he'd ruined her life. Ryan sat inside, headphones on, listening to nothing. Just needing the noise to stop. Eventually, Jennifer gave up. Went home to her parents. Her father, who'd walked her down the aisle, couldn't look at her. Her mother tried to defend her at first. Everyone makes mistakes. You could have handled this privately. But even she eventually had to admit that 8 months of deliberate deception wasn't a simple mistake. Marcus disappeared completely. Deleted all his social media. Changed his phone number. Ryan heard through mutual friends that Marcus had moved. Left California. Started over somewhere nobody knew his name or his face. His company released a statement saying he'd resigned. Personal reasons. Nobody bought it. Everyone knew exactly what those personal reasons were. Ryan went back to work the following Monday. Expected awkwardness. Instead, his co-workers treated him like a hero. Brought him coffee. Told him they'd have done the same thing. Shared their own stories of betrayal. How they wished they'd had the courage to expose the truth publicly. How they'd kept quiet and regretted it. One colleague, a woman Ryan barely knew, stopped by his office. Said her ex-husband had cheated with her sister. She'd found out after the wedding. Stayed in the marriage for 2 years before finally leaving. She looked at Ryan with something like envy. You did what I couldn't, she said. You chose yourself. You chose your dignity. Ryan wasn't sure he felt dignified. Mostly, he felt tired. But her words stuck with him. Friends divided into camps. Some thought Ryan was justified. Others thought he'd gone too far. That public humiliation was cruel. That he could have called off the wedding privately. Spared everyone the spectacle. Ryan's answer was simple. If they'd been willing to humiliate him privately for 8 months, he was entitled to expose them publicly for one day. The church refunded nothing. The venue kept their deposit. The caterer, the florist, the photographer, the band, all kept their money. Ryan was out nearly $50,000. He didn't care. Some things were worth the cost. The wedding photographer actually sent Ryan the photos from that day. On the house, the email said, "Figured you might want a record." Ryan opened the file once. Saw Jennifer's face at the moment she realized what he'd done. The horror. The shame. The complete devastation. He deleted the photos. Didn't need them. That image was seared into his memory forever. 3 months after the wedding that never was, Ryan's lawyer finalized the annulment. The marriage had never been legally recognized since they hadn't signed the license. So technically, Ryan and Jennifer were never married. Just engaged. The ring sat in Ryan's dresser drawer for weeks. He couldn't decide what to do with it. Pawn it? Throw it away? Keep it as a reminder? His mother suggested donating it. There are women's shelters that sell donated jewelry to fund their programs. Help someone else start over. Ryan liked that idea. Took the ring to a local shelter and handed it over. One less thing to carry. 4 months after, Ryan ran into one of Jennifer's bridesmaids at a coffee shop. She apologized. Said she hadn't known about the affair. Said if she had, she'd never have supported the wedding. Then she hesitated. Said something Ryan hadn't expected. Jennifer's not doing well. She had a breakdown. Lost her job. Moved back home. She's in therapy now. Trying to work through everything. Ryan sipped his coffee. Asked what she thought he should feel about that. The bridesmaid shrugged. I don't know. I just thought you should know. Ryan thanked her. Meant it. But he didn't feel guilty. Didn't feel responsible for Jennifer's mental health. She'd made choices. Now she was living with the consequences. 5 months after, Marcus sent an email. Ryan almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. The email was long. Rambling. Apologetic. Marcus claimed he never meant to hurt Ryan. That it started innocently. That Jennifer pursued him. That he tried to end it multiple times but couldn't. That he knew it was wrong but felt trapped. Ryan read the entire thing. Then he replied with 3 words. I don't care. Marcus never contacted him again. 6 months after, Ryan started dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffee. Dinner. Conversations that didn't lead anywhere. He wasn't ready for a relationship. Wasn't sure he'd ever trust anyone again. But his therapist, who he'd started seeing regularly, encouraged him to stay open. To not let Jennifer's betrayal close him off to future possibilities. 1 year after the wedding that never happened, Ryan was doing okay. Not great. Not healed. But okay. He'd moved to a new apartment. One without memories of Jennifer in every room. He'd picked up new hobbies. Started rock climbing. Joined a book club. Made new friends who didn't know his story unless he chose to share it. His relationship with his mother had deepened. They had dinner together weekly now. Talked about everything. She'd always been his rock, but after everything with Jennifer, their bond felt unbreakable. He'd also reconnected with some old friends. People he'd lost touch with during the relationship. They welcomed him back without judgment. Without questions he didn't want to answer. Just acceptance. Ryan learned things about himself during that year. Learned he was stronger than he'd thought. Learned he could survive public humiliation and come out the other side. Learned that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. He also learned about forgiveness. Not for Jennifer or Marcus. That might never come. But forgiveness for himself. For missing the signs. For trusting people who didn't deserve it. For believing in a love that was never real. His therapist helped him understand that being deceived doesn't make you stupid. It makes you human. Sometimes people ask Ryan if he regrets it. The public exposure. The dramatic reveal. The 300 photos. His answer is always the same. No. Because that moment, as painful as it was, gave him his power back. Jennifer and Marcus had controlled the narrative for 8 months. They'd made him the fool without him knowing it. By exposing them, Ryan took back control. He told his own story. And yeah, it was messy. It was public. It was probably more dramatic than it needed to be. But it was his choice. His moment. His truth. And after 8 months of living in someone else's lie, that mattered. Ryan also learned that people have strong opinions about his choice. Some think he's a hero. Others think he's vindictive. Some say they'd have done the same. Others say they'd have handled it privately. Ryan's learned to be okay with that. You can't control how people react. You can only control your own actions. And his actions, while extreme, came from a place of profound hurt. Of betrayal so deep it fundamentally changed how he viewed relationships. Was it the right way to handle it? Maybe. Maybe not. But it was his way. And he owned it completely. The story went viral for a reason. Because people understand betrayal. Everyone's been hurt. Everyone's been lied to. Everyone's wondered what they'd do if they discovered the person they loved was living a double life. Would you confront them privately? Would you try to work it out? Or would you burn it all down and start over? Think about that for a moment. Really think about it. If you discovered your partner was having an affair with someone you trusted, someone you considered family, what would you do? Would you keep it quiet? Protect their reputation? Or would you expose them? Make sure everyone knew the truth? There's no right answer. Every situation is different. Every person's threshold for pain is unique. But Ryan's story forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about trust, about loyalty, about the masks people wear. Jennifer seemed perfect. Marcus seemed trustworthy. Their betrayal seemed impossible. Until it wasn't. How many people in your life are wearing masks? How many relationships are built on foundations that would crumble under scrutiny? It's an unsettling thought. But maybe it's one worth considering. Ryan's story also raises questions about revenge. Was his public exposure an act of revenge? Absolutely. Was it justified? That depends on who you ask. Some argue that revenge is never the answer. That it makes you as bad as the person who hurt you. Others argue that sometimes, revenge is the only way to reclaim your dignity. To show that you won't be walked over. That actions have consequences. Ryan falls into the latter camp. He doesn't apologize for what he did. Doesn't wish he'd handled it differently. Because for him, that moment at the altar wasn't just about Jennifer and Marcus. It was about every person who'd ever been betrayed and stayed silent. Every person who'd swallowed their pain to avoid making a scene. Every person who'd let someone else's comfort matter more than their own truth. As for Jennifer and Marcus, their story continued too. According to mutual friends, they didn't end up together. The weight of what they'd done, the shame of being exposed so publicly, it destroyed whatever they thought they had. Jennifer eventually moved to another state. Started over with a new name, a new job, a new life. Ryan doesn't know if she ever found happiness. Doesn't really care. Marcus did the same. Vanished. Rebuilt. Whether either of them learned anything from the experience, Ryan couldn't say. But he hopes they did. Hopes they understand the pain they caused. Hopes they think twice before betraying someone's trust again. Though honestly, he doubts it. People who can deceive that thoroughly, that consistently, usually don't change. They just get better at hiding it. Today, Ryan is 34. Single. Focused on his career and his own well-being. He dates occasionally but nothing serious. He's in no rush. Because now he knows what he's looking for. Not perfection. Not someone who seems too good to be true. But someone real. Someone honest. Someone who understands that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. Someone who values transparency. Who communicates. Who understands that love without honesty isn't love at all. It's just a pretty lie waiting to collapse. So here's the question we started with. Was Ryan right to refuse that kiss? Was he right to expose Jennifer and Marcus in front of 300 people? Or should he have handled it differently? The answer probably depends on your own experiences with betrayal. With trust. With the moment when everything you believed in shatters. But here's what we can all agree on. Ryan's story is a reminder that people aren't always who they seem. That trust is precious and fragile. That betrayal can come from the people closest to you. And that sometimes, the only way to move forward is to burn everything down and start fresh. If you were in Ryan's position, what would you have done? Would you have confronted them privately? Called off the wedding quietly? Or would you have done exactly what Ryan did? Let everyone see the truth, regardless of the consequences. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. And if this story made you think, made you feel something, hit that subscribe button. Because there are more stories like this. More moments when the truth comes out in the most unexpected ways. More lessons about trust, betrayal, and the price we pay for loving the wrong people. Thank you for watching. Remember, not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. Not everyone who stands beside you has your back. And sometimes, the greatest act of self-love is walking away from people who don't deserve you. Even when the whole world is watching. Especially when the whole world is watching.